Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's summer in Florida again.
And it's allergy season in Texas. So if you think I am under the influence, I am not. My eyes are just bloodshot because of my allergies.
Do you know what's really screwed up is that when it was 20 degrees here, I thought that there couldn't be any pollen, and somehow my car was still covered in pollen.
I know. Isn't that wild? I think in Wisconsin, like when it got that cold, like everything just it was frozen over, it was snowed on top of. Nothing was spreading. But in the southern states, it can be cold and windy and it just still floats around in the air.
I know the ground never freezes, and the plants
Mm.
don't fully hibernate or whatever the plant word is. All right. Anyhow, we're here. We're doing more Ask Me Anythings. Today is dun dun dun. How's discipline going, Kayla?
Oof. Discipline. It's such a crazy one. I just had the biggest floater in my eye and I thought like there was a child running in my room. Okay, that was very weird. Maybe it's the spirits. Um, okay, discipline. It's going. It's going fairly well in general. I question myself all the time, and also there's like really hard moments. So like overall, it's going, but in the pockets of high stress situations where I need to be disciplining, it can be a little difficult. I'm still navigating it per situation, right?
I feel like this is okay to set my context. Most of my friends have kids that are under 4, and then I have a couple people where they're older than that. But I just feel like I keep cycling through hearing conversations of, am I doing this right? I don't
Yes.
know. I think is our generation the one that coined the term gentle parenting? I'm sure a version of that has existed, but
Yeah.
every generation sees what their parents did, tries to do something different, and things sort of swing back and forth. And then I'm sure our parents' generation looks at us sometimes and is like, oh, you guys think you know everything. Um, but
Yeah.
I just think it's worth talking about, like, how did you guys talk about what you were going to do for discipline or your styles before you had kids? Is it something that has
hmm
evolved over time?
Yes. And yes, we did talk about it beforehand because it is a big thing and it's something to make sure you're either on you're on the same page or you're like a couple pages away from each other. You can't be like in a whole other book type
Mhm.
situation when it comes to this thing, I think. Um, but yeah, I feel like Kenny and I were raised a little bit differently with like how our parents parented us. And so we kind of maintained the thought or the theory that we were going to like come in the middle of it a little bit. Um, Obviously, I'm a single child, so that also has a play in it, I feel like, versus he's one of three. So we're kind of taking what we liked and leaving what we didn't. But it was the conversations we had before kids and then that we continue to have now that we have kids is let's let, especially boys, like feelings are okay. They have emotions that they can express. And we will never say, suck it up, don't cry. Um, like you're a man, you can't cry. But we also don't want to raise spoiled brats who get everything they want all the time. And not saying gentle parenting makes people spoiled. There's a fine line for me and how it just comes out naturally, like mothering. I just have to remember consciously, like, here's a boundary. And if I say something, then I have to follow through, even though it's really inconvenient sometimes. And I have to discipline them if I say I'm going to, because if I don't, then that's when I feel like gentle parenting takes a turn into uh they're not being parented. They're they're just going willy-nilly, you know? So it's like, yes, you can have feelings. Yes, I'm here for you. Yes, I give me a hug and we'll work through it. But then after that, I'm going to tell you why we can't do these things anymore. And if you do it
Mhm.
again, then there's XYZ consequence. You know what I mean? That's where we're at. Is it right? I don't know. Is it working? For the most part, but it's really hard. It's very hard.
I don't well, I the only thing I can liken this to is the therapeutic process that we talk about and learn in my field, but my favorite saying is that boundaries are therapeutic.
Mhm.
And I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at developmental, like brain development, and I don't have a ton of education with children because I knew I was not gonna ever wanna work with kids. I don't
Yeah.
know. I knew adults were more of my, like, bag as far as professionally, but it still makes sense to me that kids, people, me, benefit from some kind of routine and structure,
Mhm.
and the lack of that can be confusing, and then when you don't have the cognitive ability to understand the nuance of a lot of things, that's
Yeah.
also jarring. So telling your kids no, telling people no, in my case, sometimes telling elderly people no who
Mhm.
are acting like kids again, coming back around the cycle of life
Mhm.
can be helpful because you're creating a structure, and structure can be supportive. It doesn't have to be a
Yes.
negative.
No, I think of it like almost like bumper lanes. Like keep them in the lane so they can like bounce around a little bit, but we're protecting them from like jumping off into the other lane and getting hurt or
Mhm.
just raising kids that don't know how to maybe regulate themselves or just uh, listen. Here's the other thing. It's like I need you to listen to authority, but I also want you to be able to question authority. And that's a fine line that like I feel like we'll get through as we age. It's like you
Yeah.
need to listen to mom and dad and you need to be respectful to your teachers and to your grandparents and to the person at the supermarket. But if they say something, it's like I want you to feel like you can question authority respectfully.
Yeah.
But right now you need to really listen to mom and dad. It's like this like um what's the word? Brain. Uh whatever, it doesn't matter. But oxymoron.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You talked about it beforehand. Is there anything when you guys were in your planning phase of what you were expecting to do? And I guess disciplining, we're really saying parenting because it's providing reward and consequence. It's both.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
was there something that was strikingly different than what you expected or something that you thought this is what we're going to do and then had to abandon completely?
You know, it's funny, kind of. From my perspective going into things, I was very much gentle parent, which is not a bad thing. I'm not crapping on it, but more in that lane versus what I think a lot of us grew up with maybe like more direct um physical discipline, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Like we grew up and I didn't get spanked, but I know a lot of people that did. I wasn't not for that, and I'm still not for that. But there are times where when you when the toddlers are just wild. And the other day, prime example, Caden started pulling my hair. It was really sweet at first. He started like playing with my hair and mommy's hair's soft, mommy's pretty, and it was so cute. And I was like, this is a wonderful moment.
I know where
And
this is
then
going.
and then he ended up kind of pulling a little hard, and I said, "Please don't do that. That hurts mommy." Again, I think it's like you get you get two times where I'm going to say it nicely if it's not like a dire situation. Third time is going to be very direct. And then after the third time, if you do it again, there's consequences. So of course, we pull our hair more than once, and then I'm like, "Do not do that again, or we're going to be done playing." And what does he do? He pulls it again. So instinctually, before motherhood, this would never be the Kayla I thought I was. In motherhood, as I'm getting my hair pulled, now overstimulated, I lightly but firmly pulled his hair, and I was like, and he was like, just shocked, not hurt, just shocked, and I was like, That's why we don't do that. Now you know how it feels. Stop doing it. And he was like, okay. And then he stopped and it was fine. And he hasn't done it since. But like, obviously, that's not a situation. Like, you can't do tick for tack on that. Cause like, if he hit me or threw something hard at my face, like, I'm not going to do that back to my 2-year-old, But
Hmm.
in certain circumstances, I feel like it's called for a little bit. Cause I'm like, you're not understanding how this feels. So I'm going to show you.
Well, you guys, I've watched you do it with in safe versions with his little jungle gym in the house. Like don't crawl up the slide that way, you're gonna fall. And
Yeah.
it's not a distance that he's gonna get hurt. The
Yeah.
ground is padded, but if he's not gonna listen and a natural consequence occurs, then we're fine.
If
Just
you
what you
don't
were
listen to
saying.
me, then you're going to find out the hard way in a safe way. If he's ever
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
situation
yeah.
where it's not safe, then we would obviously intervene. But yeah, I don't think pre-mom I would have thought I did that. But and then opposite with Kenny, he's just like the best, like firm affair, but so loving and caring. And there's always a conversation afterwards, like, this is why we had to step away and do a timeout. And I love
Mm-hmm.
you so much. And I want you to be a good human. And that's what we're doing. We're learning together. I'm learning and you're learning, and I'm learning how to teach you, but this is why this happened, XYZ. So I really like the conversations afterwards, and I really appreciate being able to like even just like apologize to our kids. Like if I do
Mm-hmm.
have a hard day and I snap at them, I don't want to do that. But like we all make mistakes, and I feel like that goes a long way with them. Like, hey, mommy's sorry. I didn't mean to snap at you. That was not the right thing to do. That way they see that.
Yeah. I am, well, one, I'm curious to see what it's like with your first versus your second. Because I think
I know.
I mean, I'm watching them in bits and pieces when we're together, but I feel like your first has a lot of energy and I feel
Hmm.
like he has a lot of will. And I'm just curious if your second will be similar because I know I was a major goody two shoes as a kid and I did not like getting yelled
Hmm.
at all. And I always wanted to be like the perfect little child at school. I certainly some of that was personality related.
Hmm.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see because I'm sure just like things change from what you imagined to what the reality was with number one, I feel like what you glean from one will help with two, but I bet there will be things with number two where you're like, huh.
I feel like number two is either going to be, well, they're going to be different regardless, but everyone says the second is crazier. But I'm like, that would be crazy. But also, I'm in like boy territory, and I didn't grow up with brothers. I'm obviously a woman. Like, it's so different.
Hmm.
But I see a lot of myself in my first because he's like such a ham at home and he's goofy. Like, he's funny, goofy. And then in public, he's very much like observant and doesn't say
Yeah.
as much. And um, I love that though, because I selfishly don't want him to act crazy in public. And also that we
Yeah.
shouldn't be acting crazy in public. Like the people when they come into a business and the kids are just running all over, trashing the place, like unacceptable. But like at
Hmm.
home, don't trash my house. But yeah, it's going to get messy and you can be a kid here and you can be safe and be funny and be silly. And the fact that he does it at home, like I know means that he feels safe to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been fun with, like I said, with early childhood development and just observing, watching him because I've had fun. Well, one, I just have had fun watching my friends become parents and seeing y'all step into that. Like I got to hear your mom voice. And I was like, okay. Um,
I
but
didn't know I had one until I had kids.
right?
That would have not been a
I
thing when I was younger.
I was obsessed with one of the times, and it's going to forever be seared in my memory where Kenny had to tell your first, like, we need to stop that. I can't remember. I think he was getting a little bit too rowdy around the baby or something, and you were
Hmm.
feeding, so you just couldn't
Yeah.
physically get up and do anything about it. But Kenny coming in and telling your first no, and that he needed to come with him because we'd already escalated to the point where we needed
Yeah.
a timeout, and watching him like do it because he knew he had to, but in the most annoying way possible. Like slurmed off the
Slur
couch.
so
Literally like
slowly.
melted off the couch and then was like dragging his feet and looking back at you. Like, don't make me.
So
Like,
dramatic.
so like trying so hard to pull on your strings to get you to intervene, and then sees a toy on the couch as he's walking by, and Kenny being like, we're not bringing that with us, and him reaching out one finger to touch it and then just like move it a little bit and look
So
at Kenny and be like, what you gonna do? And then finally just realizing like it's hopeless, I can't get out of this, and like just making his way over.
it's incredible. And like, sometimes we joke and we're like, this kid is like manipulative, but he's not in no way, shape, or form. It's just developmentally, he's pushing the boundaries and he understands, like, oh, I'm a person outside of mom and dad. And I, that's why all these kids say no, because they're testing the boundary, or they say stop. I just read something the other day because we were singing along to a song and he keeps telling me to stop. And I'm like, why can't I sing? But then I'm like, oh, he's realizing that I'm separate and he wants to see, like, it's just pushing boundaries and developmentally learning.
Yeah.
But that's why there has to be some boundaries, because if there's no boundaries, they're gonna plow right through them, right? So it's such a fine line. And some days are not great. Some days I'm like, oh, that was bad. I feel like I wasn't a good mom. But I think everyone has that because it's just, you have a bad day and it kind of ekes over into other things.
I
But
mean, I feel like if you never felt that way, then you don't,
then you
something's
probably
wrong.
are a bad mom.
Yeah, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I feel like a good
Yeah.
mom questions themselves. It's just a natural self-reflection that people do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like at the end of the day, what we're learning right now in the depths of toddlerhood, especially, is when we have big feelings, we're communicating calmly.
Mhm.
And so we get to the point where it's becoming I don't know if disrespectful is the right word, but we're coming to the point where it needs to be firm, followed by a consequence.
Mhm.
And that consequence just could be just going into a different room. And then if there's high emotions, I've learned I don't always do this because I end up being up here a little bit, but just being there and
Mhm.
letting him cry it out, either letting him cry it out in my arms or just being in the room available. And then once he calms down, we talk through it and I explain, this is why this happened. Like,
Mhm.
we can't do this and blah, blah, blah. And I love you so much and blah, blah, blah. So, because yeah, you really can't reason with a toddler that's screaming at the top of their lungs trying to talk to them. So it's like
It
a
was
waste of
interesting.
energy.
It was interesting too watching you guys. It was like so much of what his tantrums were about were because he was frustrated,
For sure. It would be so frustrating.
and just doesn't know how to express himself or explain what he wants, and then
Yeah.
blows his top. And just like you said, it's just getting him back down to a point where he can do some higher level thinking still within
Yeah.
a toddler bounds. I have realized, and I could see the temptation. It's got to be hard not to make it about you, like they're doing this to me,
Oh, 100%.
especially if you're having a hard day. Like when it's really probably more that they are just, like you're saying, testing out the limits, trying to figure out themselves in space. What can we do and what can we not do? What happens if this happens? Like doing experiments versus I'm going to get you with my
Oh,
behavior.
for sure. The other thing that I've read that is super helpful. Now, I will say Instagram and social media and all the mom and child stuff it's too much. There's so much out there. However, there's one thing that I found really helpful that I stumbled upon, and it was like when your kid is, especially at like school or like right now, they're in daycare, because of how he behaves in public, which I so appreciate. He, is probably told no a lot at daycare. And like maybe the Tate took his dump truck, or maybe Emma stole the last piece of food, or maybe this and that, and all this happened, and he's got to hold it in better at like a structured place. And I've heard that when they get home, it's like they just almost need to let it out, so it comes out in different ways that maybe look bad or that they're acting out, but it's like, oh, I've been holding this in all day and I've had a hard day and I haven't been able to cry yet. But now mommy's home and now I feel safe to do it. And so I had to remember that, especially after the days that they go to daycare, remembering and then specifically asking him, like, did something happen at school today? Like, what'd you do for fun? Did anything make you upset? And like, and sometimes it doesn't tell me, and sometimes there's nothing. But I try to make a point to do that and remember that it's not on me.
Yeah, yeah, he's not saving up terror for you.
I mean, he kind of is, but not purposely.
Right, right, not to be like, "I'm gonna
A
terrorize
menace.
mom."
Yeah.
I like the reframing that you have picked up on that of, okay, it's not him acting crazy at home because we don't discipline him, it's he feels comfortable here,
Hmm.
and he's got some steam to let off,
Yeah.
which we all
We're
do
not
at home in
perfect.
our own
So
way.
you saw it?
We all do that at home in our own way.
Yeah. Well, for sure. I was just going to say, like, we are far from perfect, and I probably need to read some more parenting books. Just kidding. I see enough on social media. But I think I appreciate the communication between me and Kenny, and I appreciate how that has evolved into disciplining and raising our children. And we're on the same page, and I think like there's some things we need to improve on, and there's some things that I'm proud of us for. So, but it's hard and it's ever
This has to
changing.
be a hard
And
stage. I know there's more nuance and things get more complicated as they get older, but golly, it's gotta be so hard to have a fully adult human brain and then
Mhm.
to be communicating with something that is not fully
Yeah,
formed
yeah.
at all, and
Oh,
understanding where they're at with those different developmental stages so you can understand what's realistic for them to comprehend and
mhm,
what do they benefit from and what's an unrealistic expectation in that age bracket.
yeah. Did that answer your questions? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I was just kind of all over the place.
No, I'm just obsessed. I just every time I talk about this, I'm just always so enheartened, that's not a word. I'm just so happy to see our generation parenting with so much intention.
Yeah,
And I'm not a boomer, whatever. Everyone's doing their best. I also have a lot more grace for people who seem like they're not making the best parenting decisions because it's a lot. It's obviously a lot. Okay,
yeah,
and I mean, there's, like, boundaries of acceptable. There's clear lines of things
yeah,
that
yeah,
are
yeah,
not acceptable, but I feel far less judgmental seeing, like, okay, I'm even just experiencing being a working adult and being tired, and obviously, if I had a child, I would love them way more than I love my dogs, but, there's days where my dogs just wanna, like, come see me after work, and I'm like, "Get away from me!" And I'm
mhm,
like, "Oh, I understand why my mom was maybe a little
mm,
bitchy after work sometimes."
yeah, yeah,
It's just, like, parents are people, I think
yeah,
but again, I appreciate how much our generation seems to really be trying
mhm,
and being intentional, and every generation is gonna do something every parent is gonna do something they don't
yes,
love, nobody's perfect. Every kid will grow up and be like, "I really wish you hadn't done X, Y, and Z,"
yeah.
but at the end of
And
the day
I was gonna say, I feel like I need to caveat myself. I feel like I was kind of shitting on gentle parenting, and I'm not. I think gentle parenting is great, followed up by just like boundaries. I think gentle parenting has been overused, and so it kind of sways in one direction. So I feel like if there's like a balance of I think that's where I'm getting at. Is like there's a balance of things. I just want to say I'm not crapping on it because I lean way more towards that than anything else, but it just comes out differently in some circumstances.
yeah.
Also, I need to make a correction I need to fact check myself from weeks ago when I said, speaking of parenting, that my parents had never bought me an easy bake oven. I have been standard corrected. It's not the right terminology. I was sent a picture as proof I was gifted an Easy Bake. I guess I
That's
didn't use it
funny.
enough to remember. But sorry, mom and dad, you did give me an Easy Bake. I really appreciate it. So I stand corrected. I wanted to correct myself. It was weeks ago, but
I don't even remember us talking about that, that is so funny.
yeah. I was mad because I thought I didn't have one, and apparently I did have one.
Oh, that's funny. That's fantastic. I don't even know what
I know.
gentle parenting is also.
I
I
know it's
know what
like
it isn't, but
people just use the word, I feel like.
yeah, maybe it's just the general concept of letting your kids have their feelings and being more supportive versus punitive.
Yeah. I think it's like there's also this trend that's like, um, saying phrases that we heard growing up and seeing what my kids say. It's like, I can't think
Oh,
of
I've
a
seen
single
some
one
of
right now.
that.
Yeah.
I've seen some of that. I can't think of an example either, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's basically like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna, and you let it go. But it's like how we grew up. It was like, I'm gonna beat your ass. But then
Yeah.
the kids now are like, oh, because you love me. And it's cute when they like finish the sentence. It's complete opposite of what it's actually
Mhm.
supposed to be. So I'm all for that. I don't want to traumatize my kid, but I also don't want to raise them to be spoiled. That's the hard line. I want to raise strong, confident men who also can have feelings.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Well, I think having feelings comes from being confident. I think a
I
lot of
agree.
men who are uncomfortable with their feelings, other than anger, are probably self-conscious on the inside.
Mm-hmm. For sure. More to
Anyway,
come. We'll
I
see as
know
we go.
it'll be an ever-evolving conversation, but thank you
Right.
because I'm so nosy, and also I love this topic, and also I feel like it's definitely gotta be one of the harder ones for people as they navigate their way through child raising.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know where we are yet and if we're wrapping this up this week or if we have another mom topic next week, but we'll figure it out and then you guys will find out. And then until next week, I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. And don't hate me in the comments. I'm trying my best, people.
I'll come for them if they do.